So our next big project is going to be creating an abstract drawing that is really focused on showing value. This is what it's going to look like when we're finished, or it's one solution to the problem. So let me show you how to get started. You're going to need a piece of your drawing paper. So get out your drawing paper. You're going to need this piece, this strip of poster board. We're going to use as a straight edge to make some straight lines. You're going to need your pencil, your blending stump. This will get us started. You're going to need a couple more things in a little bit, but let me go ahead and show you how to start this out. We're going to be using this to make straight lines, and this is very similar to our line drawing project. We're going to start by making lines that go all the way across the paper and just dividing up our space. So I'm just going to start out by making a bunch of diagonal lines. Maybe one across here, maybe another one. Another one over here. Now I notice all of my lines are kind of headed the same way, so I need something to break up the space. I'll do a few going the opposite way. Maybe, let's see, maybe one here. I need something over here, so I'll add another one. Maybe something like that. Okay. Everything's going, you know, from this side to that side, pretty much. I needed a few kind of breaking this space up, going this way, so we're just breaking up the space. Now, you know, I was just about to make a line like this that would make a tiny little shape right there, and I don't want to do that. That would be really kind of an awkward itty bitty spot. So I'm going to go right through that intersection right there, I think. Do something like this. Whoa, I got a little bit off. That's why we have our eraser. It's for our mistakes. And we make them, and that's okay. All right, maybe one across here to divide that up. Maybe one more. Let's see. I'll make one more like this. Okay, now I still have some big shapes in here, but we're not through. Let's see, we've made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, so I've got, we'll say, do about roughly 10 lines divided up into shapes. Then what you're going to need to do is have 3 rectangles, and you're going to have 2 circles. Okay, so for my rectangle, I'm going to make one right here so that I'm dividing these big shapes up. Okay, and so when I do that, I'm trying to make sure these lines that I draw are parallel to the edge. I'm going to ignore the lines on the paper, and I'm going to try to make them parallel to the edge. So something kind of like this. I'm not lining up with this line. I'm lining up with this line to try to make my rectangles parallel with the edge of my paper. So this is going to be the bottom of my rectangle. Then I'm going to go up the side here, lining these up, making them parallel. Okay. And then I'm going to go through this intersection right here. And again, you guys, everybody's is going to be a little bit different. Yours does not need to look like mine. I'm just showing you how I would go about starting this project, trying to line up my edges. Okay. All right, so this is going to give me one rectangle. Okay, now I need another one. So I think I'm going to use one to kind of break up this space. So let's see. I'm gonna make sure this is parallel to the edge. And again, if I go across here, I'm gonna make this tiny little shape. So I'm gonna go through this intersection right here. Let's say I go across there. Maybe I'll go through this intersection right there. So I'm making sure this is parallel to the edge, drawing a line. You know, I went beyond right there, but I can erase that. And I'm going to come across. Maybe I'll go through this intersection too, just because if I go here, I have this little bitty space and I'm trying to avoid the little teeny tiny spaces. So let me bring this down a little bit so that I'm going right through that intersection. I'll erase my extra line. All right, now I need to try to making sure this is parallel with the edges. And I can, oh, I didn't go all the way. Okay, I got 2 rectangles. Now maybe I'll put like a little tiny rectangle right in here. Let's see, maybe I want that in the middle of it. So let me kind of cover that up. Try to make it straight, parallel with the edge. Maybe going up here, trying to make that parallel with the edge of this rectangle. I can use that. Okay, and then finally I'm going to close the top off up here. Okay, so I've got my 3 rectangles. Now we need 2 circles. So I would go into your kitchen, grab a cup that's not too big. So this will be your small circle. And then a bowl that's a little bit bigger. So you've got 2 different size circles, and just kind of figure out, you know, a range where you think they would look best. I'm going to use this little one over here. I'm going to have my little rectangle and my little circle close together. Okay, and then to balance this circle off, I'm going to put in my bigger circle over here. Let's see, kind of like maybe. We'll see what that looks like. So I've got my 2 circles, 3 rectangles, and my lines dividing it up. And I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's okay. So from here, what you're gonna do, let me go ahead and zoom in. You're gonna do something very similar to what we did with the line drawing. Do you remember when we started in a shape that one corner is where all the lines came from, and you know the line just kind of fanned itself out? Well, we're going to pick a corner that has a dark value. So I'm going to use my pencil and I am going to make this corner really dark. Okay, once I get my graphite on the paper, I'm going to lighten up just a little bit. I'm going to come out here so that you can see the 2 different values. I'm going to grab my blending stump, fill that in so I get a good solid value that starts to fade out. So you're going really dark in the corner and you're going to get lighter headed towards the other corner. You're trying to make this a smooth transition, okay? You know, there's certain areas that I look at and I'm like, well, maybe it got dark there. Maybe, you know, my corner could be lighter. You want this corner to be really dark and this corner to be really light, okay? So just kind of go back and forth. trying to blend it out as best as you can. Work in some circles. And then you can go back and kind of clean up your edges a little bit. Now, just like we did with our line drawing, where, do you remember, since this is the corner that has the dark area, you don't want to do the same thing in the corner right next to it. You can do it across, but you don't want to do it right next to it. These corners cannot be the same if they're touching each other, just like we did with the line drawing. So since this corner is the darkest, when I move over here, this corner is going to be my lightest. So I could start here, making it really dark, and fading out to where it's very, very light on the other side. Okay, so I do the same thing. So let me show you something on my finished one. If you look at this, you know, this is the area I was just working on. I went from dark to light, then we went light to dark. I had filled a lot of this area in, and then when I got to this shape, notice it's different because this side was light, this side was light, this side was light. All these sides around it were light, so I had to come up with a new solution. So what I did was, if there is an area, what you're really focusing on contrast, okay? We're practicing the blending of the value, but you're looking for contrast while you're doing that. So since this area is light, this had to be dark, okay? And then as I lightened it, I realized, well, this is light too. So then I had to get dark again. So notice how this one changes. It just depends on what's next to it. You can mix it up a little bit. Like here, this one ended up having to go from dark to light to dark to light, just so that the areas that are next to each other have contrast. That's what you're looking for. Where one shape meets another, you need contrast. Okay. When you think you may be done, make sure you have gone back and made sure all of your transitions are as smooth as you can get them, and that you go back and you've used your eraser to clean up all of your lines and any little corners.